If anyone has ever told you that there's nothing that can be done about your health condition, or if it can't be cured, what they meant to say is there's nothing that they know about that can help you with that condition, or that they know about that can help make it better. And I say this because there's no single person who knows everything or who has been able to read all the research on the planet when it comes to our health. And we're still in a young science. There's tons of research coming out all the time. So I want to encourage you to always keep looking for the next right thing you can do, because there's always something you can do. Even in something like the condition that was asked about to me about a lung condition that is stated that it can't be cured, but it can be managed with treatment. Now, I want to go deeper into that to help you understand all the things that you can do to help improve upon that. And when it comes to lungs, I love talking about lungs these days because I'm reminded of the consumption theory, meaning these lungs are big. They take up a lot of space, which means they must be very important to our body. And in fact, they are, of course, because the one thing that we need more than anything to survive is oxygen. It's air. And that's the one thing that is the most abundantly available. So it makes sense. But we have to now look at the quality of the air. We're now living in a time where we have an unnatural exposure to chemicals, and we're breathing them in. And that is something we have to be aware of. If you're in an area where there's lots of perfumes and colognes and manufactured scents, and you're breathing those in, your body has to filter those out because there's no need for them in the body. There's no use for them. They just get in the way and we need to get them out. Same thing for pollution. All of these things we have to really start to know have a challenge to the body. And if our body can't remove them, it's going to have a cost to the body. So we want to think about how can we support our lungs. So let's take a look at this condition that somebody had asked me to talk about today, so I can talk about that. And it's a condition where damage to the lungs causes the tubes to widen or develop pouches. So it makes it really hard to clear mucus out. That's a clue. What can we do about mucus? And we'll get to that towards the end. And there's a lot of coughing involved, but it says it can't be cured, but it can be managed. And if you go and look at the American Lung Association, they give you some ideas as to how to manage it. And of course, they say quit smoking. And I cannot reiterate the value of this enough, but smoking isn't the end of the story. We have to limit our exposure to all kinds of toxins that could be affecting and damaging our lungs. And I would include in that all of these fake chemicals that we're exposed to. And you know it. You have this an innate response that says, get out of here. It stinks. I don't like the way this feels. It also says to maintain a healthy diet low in sodium, added sugars, and saturated fats and refined grains. Now, this is where I want to start to challenge what it's saying here. And I think we need to push back and question this one. Because, yes, added sugars, I think we agree with that. Saturated fats is something that is old science that people are still stuck on because we had false data for over 50 years provided to us from Harvard when those three scientists were paid off by the sugar industry, and refined grains. But this low sodium one is the one I'm really going to challenge here, because one of the things that we need to break up mucus is salt. So maybe not sodium specifically, but we do need some types of salt. And I do like that it does go down to say, stay hydrated, drinking plenty of water to help prevent mucus and buildup. Now, I don't mean to confuse you by saying that just because I'm disagreeing with these, but what I wanted to remind us is we can't allow any one person to be the absolute authority. We always have to think about things and see if it truly makes sense. And what did they actually mean to say? I think a lot of times we interpret what somebody's saying to us based on our experience, and it wasn't actually what they were trying to say. And always when I teach, I say that. I say, I know what I said. I don't know what you heard. Could you please teach back so that I can clarify and tell you about this? I challenge that piece about the salt because this is something that has been known for a long time. Salt water solution offering a novel therapy for cystic fibrosis patients. There is a lot that we need to know about salt in the body. Salt has so many things that it is doing. We have all of these channels that things are moving around in the body, and we have to have it. The reason that we are worried about it is because we've had an excess of it without the balancing nutrients. And that's almost always what happens when somebody says this nutrient is dangerous or that nutrient. It's because you're doing it in isolation. You're doing it in a way that nature wouldn't have provided it for you. And you're missing the other cofactors that would balance it out that usually come in nature. So anytime you see research that says vitamin A caused that, or this vitamin caused that, just look deeper into it and know that it's almost always that they were looking at a synthetic, isolated version of it that would never be in nature. There is no tree that's dripping beta carotene. There's no place that you can go and just scoop up straight beta carotene in nature. These are things that were made in a lab. And so that is why we get into danger with those things, because it is a isolation and it's missing all the cofactors. So if you are having mucus and you're having problems with mucus buildup, I encourage you to look deeper into the understanding of how mucus actually helps us to break, or salt actually helps us to break up mucus. And there's a lot of people really giving a lot of great information out there. The gentleman who owns LMNT, the electrolyte company, talks a lot about salt. He's got a lot of great information. And we've been using those in our clinic a lot to help people stay hydrated, because it gives you potassium and magnesium with the sodium, right? We're balancing those. Now, that's not the perfect way. It's not exactly the way it would be in nature either. So we are currently in our search for other options. And I do want to share with you some of the options that we are currently using to be able to see what best results we can get, because there's a lot of great options out there, but we want to make sure that when we find something good, we share it with you. Now, just so you guys know, I am not sponsored by any of these products that I talk about. I just want you to know what I'm using. And if I ever do get sponsored by them, I will let you know immediately, so that you know that I have possibly invested some intelligence in the ignorance of certain things. I am always cautious of that. So this is one called SaltT. Actually, Kelly in our office, the holistic nutritionist that works here, discovered this, and the flavors are really good. And here's what we really liked about it: no sugars, no maltodextrin, no fillers, just essential hydration for active, healthy, focused lives. This is one to investigate. I've really taken to adding these to anything that I drink, and even coffee. I always put a splash of these in. I've always put salt in my coffee. That's something that I always find it fun when people discover. Actually, I had a gentleman in this week who was part of a crew that was working here, and he loves his black coffee. We introduced him to putting salt in his coffee, and he's never going back, he said. And for those of you who don't like straight salt, it's great to have it with a little bit of flavor. Now, here's another great company that I've been introduced to lately, and they're called True Grace. And what they have is some electrolytes as well that I think are worth investigating here. Let's see if we can find the True Grace electrolytes on their hydration at True Grace. There we go. Another great source, really excellent zero sugar hydration option. So there's a lot of good ones out there. I just want you to know that, you know, there are people who are at the cutting edge making better and better products all the time, and we're doing our best to keep up with them and make sure that you know about it. But ultimately, it's not just about the sugar. It's not just about reducing your exposure. It is, of course, about making sure that you are using your lungs as much as possible. Deep breathing is going to help you to get those chemicals out. And when you're deep breathing in nature, where you're getting in good, clean air, that's going to be one of the best things you can do. But finally, there's two things that are associated with this condition that we haven't talked about. And that is, it's strengthening the terrain. Now, a lot of people don't realize that there are things that you can do to actually strengthen the terrain. And I talk a lot about these smart tissue repair products. And one of them has actually been created specifically for lung tissue. And the name of that is Pneumatrophin PMG. This is the protomorphogen for lung health. A lot of people don't know that. There are things out there that are designed to help keep your lungs strong. And there's another one from the same company called Emphaplex. So if you think about like emphysema, it is also a multiple vitamin that contains some of this that helps strengthen it. And both of those you can find here, and I'll put in a link below so you can get access to those. But again, not sponsored by any of these companies, but I want you to know that they are something that is available to you. But beyond that, the other piece of that is that they say there's an infection in there that can be the problem. And I always want to remind people, when it comes to being able to protect yourself from infection, even Louis Pasteur said on his deathbed, the pathogen is nothing, the terrain is everything. What do I mean by that? We want to strengthen our lungs with things like this, but we also want to strengthen and give strength to our immune system, giving it all of the bullets it can to have to be able to fight off infection. And when I talk about those bullets, I mean things like good source of whole food calcium and vitamins A and vitamin C. The more you can robustly fortify your body, the stronger the terrain is, and the better your chances are of minimizing any possibility of an infection causing more to that problem. So if this were a condition that I would have, I would focus very much on giving my lungs all the support it can, a lot of deep breathing. I'd be adding in some salt to make sure that I have that enough to help break up the mucus when I need it. And I would definitely be supporting my immune system. Now, of course, this isn't medical advice. What I want to encourage you to do is just look into this for yourself and think about it and see where this might make the difference for you. And of course, I'd love to hear back from you as to whether or not any of that has made a great difference for you. Thank you, as always, for watching. I really appreciate the requests that we're having. It pushes me to learn more, and it reminds me of things that I may have forgotten because there's so many things to keep in your mind when it comes to holistic health. So again, thank you for all of that, and we'll keep these videos coming as long as we keep requests coming, and anytime I have more information that I think is worth sharing with you all. Have a good one.